Welcome back to Wondour, guys, and we are continuing our series on the Metaverse, and we have my brother, partner in crime, Mr. Dylan Stroud, and we are giving everyone the deep dive. What is the Metaverse? How are you, brother?
Good.
Good.
Happy to be here.
Yes, very exciting. We've had so much feedback from everybody, questions on Instagram, questions on our community chat, and very excited to continue the conversation.
So much fun.
So Dylan, what do you think then is the next movement? We have companies, it's not just Meta. Meta just happens to be the most branded up to this point, plus they took the name.
Right.
What's the next big move over the next, let's say 5 years? Let's not look too much to the future.
Sure.
Ready Player One stuff is probably going to be 2, 3, 4 decades away. I don't know. You tell me.
It could be 10, right?
You know?
The full Metaverse, a lot of people predict will be about 10 years away.
10 years away. Okay, so what's going to happen in the next 5?
So I think...
What is the Metaverse going to look like?
Right, yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Again, predicting the future is tough, but I think the main thing is we need to solve some pretty critical issues in the Metaverse, which is we touched on a little bit. First is a lot of people don't know where to access it, so we really do need to ease the access to switching between different locations, different apps, different experiences in the Metaverse. That's going to help a lot. So I think a lot of people are going to be working on that, trying to figure out the sort of issue with interoperability. This is a really important component of the digital economy, which helps fuel all this, right? We work with people who make their entire living now in the Metaverse because they build and design avatars, and people love them, right? They want to update their avatars, they want new clothing, they use them all the time, and it's personal self-expression in a bunch of virtual spaces, and they'll spend a lot of money on this, and they're excited about it, but they can't bring that avatar into another environment, right? And there's also, obviously not every environment is appropriate to have every avatar, and so just making sure that we build the technology for interoperability where there can be an economy of I can own a house, I can bring my digital assets with me. There are definitely companies that are abusing this already, and so there will be pushback, but there are real world values that can be applied here where you get more value out of it by actually getting stuff that you like to have, because a lot of people spend a lot of time in these experiences, right? And working experiences and feeling professional, even just access to new tools that you might bring with you in a workspace, right? Like something that you wouldn't have otherwise. People are going to find and build businesses in the Metaverse. I can open up this widget and now I have some new really cool feature I can do with displays, whatever that thing might be. And so I think we definitely need to facilitate a strong digital economy that's built on providing real value. And that's always a challenge for new innovations, because a lot of people tend to sort of hop on the bandwagon and try to capitalize a little too early, and there's almost always pushback for that, right? So that's to be expected. It's definitely going to be happening here, but there's really good ways to provide that real value. So I think that's the main thing. In the next 5 years, we need to figure out interoperability, make sure that we have a really strong digital economy, and I think we're also going to be focusing in to dive a little bit deeper into the actual experiences. That sense of presence, the technology itself can be advanced. So we're going to see things like improvements to resolution, right? Improvements to field of view, which is where your peripheral vision is. That's a really important piece. Latency is important. On the hardware side, we're starting to see
no lag.
Yeah, as little lag as you can, which is really important, because if your brain detects anything wrong with a lag in movement, you can actually have a physiological response. Some people get motion sick early, and then they develop sort of it stops to bother them, right, after a little time. So it's really important that we get these things right, and most experiences have, right? This is just a fundamental, this is kind of like a known thing now. If you're going to have a virtual reality experience, it needs to be a certain frame rate, because you don't want to make people sick. And so luckily that's pretty easy to do now on the hardware to actually achieve that. But yeah, so we're definitely going to have just basic level. The fundamentals are going to provide a lot of improvements over the next 5 years. So things like directional audio, right? There's a lot of little cues that you get in the real world that are actually really important to our sense of presence in a space. If someone's talking behind me, hearing them, having their sound echo off of the materials in the room, sort of like path tracing for lighting. There's something called ray tracing or path tracing, which produces really real-world lighting conditions in new graphics technologies. So I think you're going to start to see more of these traditional AAA quality visuals start to creep in as the processing power goes up, the resolution goes up, and then there's going to be a big focus on the technical aspects of reducing latency, voice to voice, detecting emotions, showing facial expressions by cameras that are looking back at our face, looking back at our eyes, eye tracking, seeing where you're looking. And that goes a long way in communication. And today there's already plenty of demos of people who are working on this, developing better technology. And really, while there's a huge sense of presence already, it's just next level when you can see exactly where someone's looking. You see them smile when they smile. The little micro expressions are a really important part of socialization and real meetings. So we're definitely going to want to see avatars, facial expressions, natural human body language. All of these things are going to need to start to be refined. Best practices in terms of how we navigate through environments. Showing legs, right? A lot of experiences have the bottom half, just the top half. And there's some people who are in VR understand that it's not that big of a deal, but once you've had foot tracking and leg tracking and various hardware components that allow that, it's hard to go back for those people. So everything we can do to increase that sense of presence, improve processing power, reduce the size of the devices, and start to optimize for the hardware and the software user interface, making it more intuitive, more human to interact with menus, reaching out and touching things instead of using a pointer. I think we're going to see a lot of advancements in those spaces in the next 5 years. And then on the actual product side, there's going to be an emergence, I think, of more productive tools in virtual reality beyond just gaming. So we'll start to see companies that are making real money. We already have. There's many companies that are making millions of dollars in the metaverse now in a variety of different ways. But I think you'll start to see a much larger variety of products, services, and the general technologies, hardware, operating systems are just going to improve from here on out.
I've been witnessing, which is something for even me to comprehend, is something as simple as Fortnite.
Right.
And you have to have your skins, right? You have to make sure that you have the newest one.
Right.
You have to make sure that you're the cool kid, And I say cool kid just because I don't play Fortnite.
Right.
But that translation, if you and I are going to go meet up a enterprise company in real life, if we live in Vegas, so if we're going to meet up City Center and do a big project with them,
right.
I'm going to go in a full suit.
Yeah.
I want to look professional.
Yeah.
Is that something that you see after these software and hardware developments over the next 5 years come to be a fruition?
Right.
And there are no more latency problems. When you go to real meetings, is that going to matter, do you think, where you're going to want to go to Louis Vuitton in the metaverse, you're going to want to purchase the shoes, you're going to want to make sure you look just like how you would look. Is that going to matter, you think, in a business meeting when you're in the metaverse?
Yeah, it's a great question. I do believe that again, humans will be humans, right? And so
yes.
So yes, to a degree. If you're in a professional environment, some avatars are going to be appropriate, others are not. If you look like you're hanging out on a beach and you go to a business meeting, some companies, cultures are like, no. If you want to be professional, you'll find a professional-looking style. And another important thing is not just the clothes, but also just the actual aesthetic of the avatar, right? You can have very playful, and they're going to move towards more realism as processing power improves. There's already a few demos that you can look online about this that are very amazing. But
lifelike?
Yeah, very lifelike. Yes. You can take 3D scans of the face. There's a lot of different technologies at play here, worth checking out. But I think the short answer is yes. You're going to want to look your best for meetings like this. I've actually had meetings in the metaverse and virtual reality spaces where I've met with people and it was a consideration where I just noticed this is what they look like, and it kind of looks the way that they look in real life, like a characterized version of them. And so, there's things that come to mind there in terms of how do you want to present yourself, how professional do you want your avatar to look. In terms of actually purchasing like a Louis Vuitton pair of shoes, right? That's definitely something that is possible it will be possible. And I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I do think that there will be breakout brands that people just love the design of. Now that already is happening today. With just general avatar designers who just happen to make stuff that looks really cool, modeled after other things. And so as the big brands come into play and they start selling these assets that are actually interoperable, which again, you can put those shoes on your avatar, which is one of the main problems with the digital economy today. As that becomes more useful, I think we're absolutely going to see it, right? We're going to see the same things that happen on the internet today, same things that happen in real life. You're going to see people who are going to find what they like and they're going to express themselves in those ways. They're going to find the avatars and the clothes and the locations that are most appropriate to convey the way that they see themselves and the way that they want to present themselves to the world.
Is that where big businesses will be able to play with NFTs, minting, certificate of authenticity.
Yeah.
Sorry,
authenticity. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For that pair of shoes that I can later sell you. Is that another big play for
Exactly.
at the end of the day more revenue?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the important piece there is they can always sell them in tandem with real shoes.
The real one, yes.
Right. So you can buy a real pair of shoes. With that, you can get a digital version of that certificate of authenticity, and then you feel like you have a real asset that you can sell to someone else. For example, again, these are components of the digital economy which can be healthy, and we just need to make sure that we build them in a way that is healthy and provides value. And yes, I absolutely do think so. There's going to be clothing pieces, avatars, locations, props, chessboards. Whatever it is, your game, you name it, that they'll have what are effectively skins or different visualizations that can be created, customized, and sold by companies, which is a way that you can get into the metaverse as well, via NFTs and a variety of other methods to have real ownership, right, and have this real sense, especially as this gets more integrated into work life and more social settings and less games as that community develops and those experiences and products continue to develop. There are a number that are very impressive today. That's going to become more and more relevant. I think people are going to like that, right? It's something that people do enjoy. People like collecting shoes, and so if you make the best shoes in the metaverse, we might see a new Nike come out of this because they can just conceptualize faster using metaverse tools for 3D design, 3D test without having to go through the entire manufacturing process. We might actually see that it reverses, where instead of having shoes that are designed in the real world first, they might honestly be designed testing the markets in the digital world. When people like them, they start designing, selling the real thing. So I think we'll see probably every iteration possible of that, and the best and the most talented people will find a way to make it happen.
Epic just went through their huge lawsuit with Apple, and Apple ended up winning. Over being able to charge the App Store the 30%. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think it's fair that Apple can make an ecosystem that allows you to have users with credit cards ready to go, mm-hmm. and a company like a Fortnite or Epic comes in, or Riot Games, and mm-hmm. these companies come in, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, generally speaking, Epic and Apple always have.
And the reason I mention this is because I assume that we're going to see the same things happen in the metaverse.
Absolutely. Yeah. Humans will be humans, right? Companies will be companies. These same issues will be moved into the metaverse. They may be exacerbated. Some may be non-issues, but we'll see the same sort of human problems move into the metaverse. With Epic and Apple, in respect to those, they're both massive companies with their own personal interests. And so in terms of the actual specifics on that, I don't have enough information, I think, to really say what was correct. But I'm generally for encouraging developers and giving more control. Apple has built this beautiful ecosystem. They've put a ton of effort in and brought so much value to the world. And they have what many people refer to as that walled garden, which is, they have their own ecosystem. You buy into their phones, you buy into their operating system. And a lot of the rules of what you can't do are part of the reason why the quality, many people associate Apple and the iOS ecosystem with the quality that they do, can sometimes move towards business interests, and then those percentages are difficult, and it can make it harder for small businesses to actually make enough money to make it worth investing. So, my personal opinion has always been to provide as much opportunity for new companies, existing companies to innovate as possible and to make a living and to create new jobs, right? This is one of the most beautiful things about technology is you can do that, and you can do that, that's not bound by geographic location. And there's so many benefits that will also, this also, does relate to the metaverse and metaverse applications and things like that. So I think it's generally a good thing that, percentages, Apple does a lot of work. They have the ecosystem. They're a business. They should be able to operate as a business. But I think it's a good thing that small developers and medium and large developers also push back and try to make sure that there's nothing anti-competitive going on. That there really is opportunity in the space for new companies to create emerging technologies. And you'd want the same thing in the metaverse if Apple creates a pair of virtual reality glasses and you decide to start an app in there. You want to make sure you can make as much money as you can and support the ecosystem of Apple so that you have a user base and so that everybody provides value. So generally I'm on the side in this case of just really the end user and the end company, which at the end of the day, that's going to be allowing companies to make money and survive and grow and innovate, right? And so any policies that enable that, I think, are best for everybody.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is right, but it has fascinated me because, you know, I'm on YouTube and I watch my vlogs and stuff and things like that. And I tend to be on the side that if Apple's the one that created this entire ecosphere,
right,
they invested billions of dollars, I would assume billions of hours of manpower, all these things to create the infrastructure, the ecosphere, the ecosystem,
right,
how it all operates. It works glitch-free. It works very easy. So a common person like you and I can log in, double-click, Face ID, charge our credit card. We didn't even think,
right,
and pays out. And I feel bad because if I were to build something like this, which I've never done anything even close to something of this magnitude, obviously, it would make me upset that all of a sudden I'm getting patronized or I'm getting harassed about you charge too much. But I gave you access to 1 billion credit cards.
Right.
That all you need to do, not to say that other people aren't doing a lot, but you produce your game or you produce whatever, and I will give you an entire customer base of people who have already given me their credit cards. You don't even have to research anything. You don't have to double confirm nothing. That's my thoughts on that. It's not fair, I feel.
No, yeah, it's definitely a good point, right? It's tough because, first off, you know, you're absolutely right that, you know, they put in all this effort and companies should be allowed to be companies and operate. I think that this is the art of it, right? Is they're one of the largest companies in human history, like ever, right? So we're dealing with new sort of issues that cause issues at different scales. So I think the specific answer to any of these questions in terms of the exact way they should operate or where are those lines and where can they monetize are hard to enforce without overreaching power, right? And so, yeah, I think absolutely. You know, if you don't like what Apple's doing, if you don't like what Google's doing, if you don't like what,
don't be on their ego.
Yeah, you shouldn't, right? You shouldn't support those things. And then it's just about evaluating and making sure that they're, you know, they're able to operate in a way that is cohesive for, you know, again, positive outcomes for people. And so that's the art of it, is just figuring out, again, this is at a scale like we've never seen before, access to more people, more revenue, and just doing that is, you know, they're going to be hiccups, and I think we should all expect those things and just do our best to hold companies accountable and to behaving appropriately and making sure that it's not an anti-competitive atmosphere and it's really aligns with the ideals of the community that want to use their products.
Not like I'm the next visionary, but the reason why I really mentioned this and I wanted to just tell you my opinion on that is because I just have to assume that when the metaverse is here in the next 5-10 years, that purchasing things digitally when you're already home is going to be 10 times more revenue, or worse, depending on what side of the table you're on, for people, because it'll be so easy to see something digitally and just buy. Amazon already made it too easy. Apple's App Store has made it easy. In the Google, I'm also sure, I'm on iOS, so I don't know, but I'm sure it's the exact same process and procedures.
Yeah.
That I just assume when you're in the metaverse, it's gonna be even easier to just spend money and buy things, and then we, as in the developers, are gonna create things that are just gonna be, like you said, the next Nike is gonna appear, and then all of a sudden you're gonna buy 20 shoes. It's kind of like how we're playing since we live in Las Vegas, casino games, you have these chips that are worth $100,
right,
and you have 10 of them, where you would normally never take that $1,000 if you had $100 bills of US currency in your hand. You wouldn't just play with it and just spend it, but it's so easy to do that at the casino because they're just chips without these numbers, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I feel like when you're in the metaverse, people and developers like you are going to develop these amazing things for people, and then it's going to even be crazier. and the reason I say this is because I feel like that you guys deserve that money,
right,
and the people who develop it.
Yeah. So again, there's ways to operate, you know, ethically and provide real value to people. I think there are potential challenges to make sure that people understand what they're buying. You know, I think the main thing is it adds another market to our economy, which is good, right? Because like you can go out and buy shoes right now, and if people are finding real value in digital shoes, that's an amazing thing. This is good for everybody. It creates more jobs. It's more things more ways for people to express themselves. There's more environments to entertain or to work and be more productive. So there's always the healthy spin, which is really what we should aim for, and it's very doable. And there are certainly things that the community should be aware of to just make sure they're not falling into bad investments, for example, or things like that, where you can purchase things that maybe have a perceived value that are hard to really pin down. But again, it's so early right now, and the metaverse is here today. We're already shopping with metaverse type experiences, which again is this 3D layer to the internet with things like augmented reality, putting a couch on the floor in your real room, right? Or the technologies are going to make it easier and more useful if we do it right. If it's anything but that, it's going to have an adverse effect on the entirety of the market, right? So what we want is to build environments where if you're redecorating your house, you can change the paint color in your house with your phone or by looking through your virtual reality mixed pass-through, and you can design before you buy. Things like this provide real value without there's no smoke and mirrors. It's not trickery, right? And generally, people who want to be in the metaverse are trying to push the needle forward towards that more positive outcome, creating something really interesting, unique, some new innovation that will bring value like that. And so as we see people develop those technologies, I think we'll see entire new markets that were previously only physical become digital. I think we'll see entire markets that don't exist right now that are only possible with digital, and with the 3D element added in, that'll come up, and there'll be a lot more people making and having access to creating revenue for themselves, creating businesses that today might not have the ability to do so. Just like the advent of the internet allowed these companies to start in a garage and become multi-billion-dollar companies, there's going to be the same sort of emergence of individuals that can provide, if they can find a way to provide real value and make a difference in society, they can do that with these new technologies and really just create a lot of both wealth and value for our society.
And that's it. Dylan, thank you so much for giving us all this information.
Thank you for having me.
Me and you just go on, and the crazy part is you and I could literally go on
forever.
Go on and on, and then people get mad at us. So with that being said, if you have any questions personally for Mr. Dylan Stroud, one of the managing partners of Wondour, and all the apps and the technology that you guys have built for yourselves over the past 5 years has literally been so mind-blowing to me to watch you guys do this, and it's an honor to really be partnered with you guys and just go on this adventure together.
I totally agree. Thank you. Likewise, sir. It's been fun to watch you make VRLU and all the exciting projects you have in the works.
It's good stuff. And if you have any personal questions for Mr. Dylan Stroud or any of us, join our community, 702-602-8802. Again, the number is 702-602-8802. All you have to do is text us any question, and myself or Mr. Dylan in a future video, or he'll reach out to you personally and we'll answer that question for you if it has anything to do with Metaverse, NFT, crypto, app development, whatever you want to talk about. It's what he does.
We love technology, so any questions are fun.
And the more obscure sometimes better.
Sometimes, yeah, you never know.
Yeah, I love it.
If you have any other questions or you're curious to learn more about Wondour, you can look us up on wondour.com, WONDOUR.com.
Push that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this video with anyone that may have a love for the metaverse also like we do. And until our next episode, we'll see each other soon.